Welcome to the LivXplore podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sean Payne, principal and founder of LivXplore Real Estate and Lifestyle, and today I have with me Isaiah Chass, our founding agent. Isaiah, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. First podcast of 2023.
Yep. 2023. Here we go. So we'll continue to hopefully provide really good information to you guys. Haven't done a podcast in a couple of weeks, so I feel a little rusty, but here we go. So 2022 was kind of a crazy time, or kind of a crazy time. It was a total crazy time. The market started off, the year started off in 2022 with the market screaming hot. I'd say artificially hot that way, with low interest rates really driving the market. Everyone trying to get in and buy that home before rates go back up that way. And so that's kind of what happened. And then things cooled quite a bit. Rates hit 7%, maybe a little bit higher than that, and that definitely put the brakes on the real estate market. You know, a lot of lenders all of a sudden found a lot of free time on their hands, and realtors were kind of like trying to figure out like what's our next step, what's the niche markets that way.
It's pretty big of a screeching halt for a lot of people involved. It was around what's happening.
Yep, that's what the market does. When the market changes, it changes very quickly. So what's going to happen in 2023? Going into this, it's definitely a different market than last year. I think that unfortunately, as you see the economy go or continue to sputter, and there's a lot of talk about a recession. I'm just going to come out and say that I think that at this point we're going to go into a recession. And so what is that going to do to real estate and all the markets that way? And I think people will start to see people unfortunately face financial hardships because of this. And we want to explain what happens when you don't pay your mortgage, and when you start getting these notices from the bank, what that means that way.
Right.
So first thing to do is don't want to sound like a broken record, but take these notices seriously. So often, I can tell you that I can say it's very common that when someone gets their home foreclosed on, they're a little bit surprised that it actually was real. A lot of times they're like, "Oh, I got this notice," or I got this notice that I have 90 days or whatever, and they don't take it seriously, and then it happens. So just when you get these notices, they are real that way. So just be careful. If you do get them and you're confused and overwhelmed or scared, reach out to us. We're here as a resource for you. So let's say that the first of the month's coming up, and you're not going to be able to make your mortgage payment, and you don't make your mortgage payment. What happens after that point? You'll probably start getting calls, and at some point the bank will send you a notice of default. They'll file a notice of default on the property, and what that says is that you have 90 days from the date of that notice of default to pay what you owe the lender. If you pay the amount on the notice of default, the lender cannot sell your home. If you don't pay within those 90 days, then you'll probably see a notice of trustee sale at that point will be recorded against your property. You'll get this notice as well. And this is like the next step of the legal process to have your home foreclosed on. So this is how the bank recovers the balance of their loan when a property owner fails to pay or to meet the obligations of the loan that way. So in California, lenders can foreclose on deeds of trust or mortgages using a non-judicial foreclosure process, which is outside the courtroom. So.
Yeah, and then coming up to 5 business days prior to the sale, you can pay the past amount due plus the fees. If you make a deal with your lender during this time period, make sure to get into writing. For those that had been through the past foreclosure crisis, they saw a lot of, or not a lot, but some lenders making deals that...
Yeah. Not like super common, but what happens is especially at the beginning, banks are sort of as confused as like the borrowers are, and so they make mistakes. And as they get more of these, you would think their departments talk, but sometimes they don't. And so an agreement is made within one department, and then the legal department still forecloses on the property. So yeah, there were some instances where someone became current, and then the home was still foreclosed on. That's a question for an attorney at that point,
right.
Like what happens. But yeah, we want to make sure that any of the terms that the bank agrees to, you want to get it in writing that way. So.
Totally. And then if you don't make an agreement with your lender, or you don't pay those payments that are due plus the fees, the only way to save your home is pay off the entire loan amount plus the fees if you're within that last 5 business days. There's a couple ways that you can go about the process, one being a repayment plan. This is for missed payments. Another being a forbearance plan. That's to temporarily reduce or suspend payments until your finances improve. Say you got laid off and you recently got a new job offer, so your finances might improve. You might be able to get out of the situation. That might be an option for you, where you see light at the end of the tunnel. There's other programs such as loan modifications, which can reduce payments and interest, as well as extend the loan term. And then once you get towards closer to the end, prior to a foreclosure, you can also do a short sale, which is to sell your home for less than you owe. There's also programs that are unique to lenders, but you'll have to reach out to them directly or have someone help you reach out to them directly to seek those programs out, because they're not really published public information.
Right.
They're not very known. Something that's important to keep in mind about this is, as the process keeps continuing, it's a funnel. Your options dwindle.
Right.
And if you wait towards the end of this, you don't really have a whole lot to do to get yourself out of it.
You're not in the driver's seat.
Yeah. So if you're behind on your payments, we do have someone on staff here that can certainly help through this process and guide you through it, because it's really challenging and tricky. And if you don't have experience in it, you don't have any idea where to start.
Yes, we're very fortunate to have Nieves DiMartini on staff. And Nieves has extensive experience in loan modification programs. Through the last foreclosure crisis, she was a loan counselor for 5 years, where she worked with borrowers and did exactly what you just talked about, tried to spell out their options and let them know about the loan modification programs. And what happened was, as a result of the last foreclosure crisis, just like now, there weren't a whole lot of options, and then millions of people ended up having their homes foreclosed on. And so the government at that point stepped in and started putting together government-backed loan modification programs that helped some people it didn't help. But again, if those become available, I assure you that we will be able to have some insight on that. But yes, please reach out to us if you have any questions, if you're overwhelmed, if you're embarrassed. It's totally understandable. We're here to help you that way. So, and again, we have Nieves DiMartini on staff, who's very knowledgeable in this area. So, but let's talk about what happens if, unfortunately, you miss the notices, which would be kind of hard, but you don't act on what's going on that way. And so you've received a notice of default for 90 days and didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden you received the notice of sale, didn't do anything. And now your home's been sold. So it's been sold on the auction block, and you have a new owner of the home. They only need to give you 3 days notice to move. So what that means is they'll come out, they'll give you 3-day notice. If you don't move, the new owner can start the eviction process. And so at this point, you definitely should be scrambling, trying to find other means of housing, because it's going to happen. It's real. Again, people think that they may have options to be able to talk to someone and be like, buy another month or a couple weeks. No, you're going to get kicked out. So at this point, again, they've given you a 3-day notice. You haven't done anything. You're still in the home. The owner can begin the eviction process, and he basically starts a lawsuit, an unlawful detainer against you. And if you lose in court, which I'm not an attorney, but my experience has been, if you're in this situation, you almost always, 99.9, I have never heard of anyone winning. You lose in court, you get a 5-day eviction notice will be posted on your door. Only the sheriff can do this. During the last foreclosure crisis, sheriffs were very busy with posting these notices. And then if you don't get out in 5 days, the sheriff will come out, will return to your home and enforce you out of the home. And usually the owner's there with a locksmith, and they change the locks. And, you may be given a few minutes to get your personal belongings out, but that's about it that way. So, if you see the sheriff at your door, you got to move quickly. You're not going to be given a lot of time to get your belongings out. And it's important that, hopefully you've already removed your valuables to a safe place at this point. But
and again,
time is up.
As this process continues, everyone gets less and less forgiving. And once you get to this stage, there's no negotiating with the sheriff. That's
right.
That's the last effort.
Yeah, that's a very uncomfortable process. So please do not get to that point. as much as we say it, it will happen at times. It's also very important to note, we're very fortunate to have Nieves on staff, and we're happy to counsel you free of charge that way. As more people become distressed, I hope this doesn't happen, but what happened during the last foreclosure crisis is you had a lot of scams come out. A lot of people talking about, I can help you with your mortgage modification. I've been in the lending industry or whatnot, and I know how to talk the talk. We had a lot of people do that, and people come out and charge $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for these loan modification programs. They don't work. They're scams. So what happens is, aside from losing your home and then having to go find another place to live, some people were duped out of additional, $3,000 or $5,000 that they could have really used at that time. So be very careful. If you are approached by someone who says that they can modify their mortgage, be very skeptical. Again, feel free to reach out to LivXplore, and we're happy to vet those people and do our due diligence and give our personal opinion of what we think about them that way. But be very careful. There's no experience means something, and so being able to do this before certainly does help. But there's no silver bullets. No one's going to be able to to guarantee or to recast your mortgage that way. So just be very careful. So.
Yeah, and bottom line, this process does happen. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. The loan mortgage paper is a lot better now than it was in the last crisis, but people still do lose their jobs. It does happen, and just don't hesitate to reach out for help if you find yourself in that situation.
Yeah, no, it's really messed up. I mean, the reason why interest rates have been raised is to one of the reasons, increase unemployment. People have to lose their jobs so that inflation doesn't continue, and that's really unfortunate. And so there are going to be homeowners that are going to be in a situation where they're going to be distressed, and so it's really important that you speak with someone that's experienced and has some knowledge in distressed ownership that way, that you're not going to someone kind of new and because there is a certain language to talk with the lenders that way. So totally. Even though there's not a silver bullet, there is a certain lingo that way. So
absolutely.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. That was our first podcast of 2023. Hopefully you aren't one of these distressed homeowners, but if you are, someone, please let them know about this podcast. I'm Sean Payne, again, founder and principal of LivXplore Real Estate and Lifestyle, and Isaiah Chass, our founding realtor. Thank you very much for joining us. If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit like and subscribe so you can see future episodes.
See you guys next time.
Welcome to the LivXplore podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe.